Hey, it's me, Randall Schwartz, back again. My most recent video was on my Riverpod starter kit, and I did it that way because I wanted to be able to use it in this video. So I'm going to go ahead and create a brand new project. Let's see here, that would be this. I should have done all this already, I think, probably. Flutter, new application project, there it is. And I gotta go to the right place for this. Dun, 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 dun. Boy, isn't this all exciting? I should probably delete all this stuff. Oh well. That's good enough right there. Select a folder to make and create the project in. Let's do that. And we're going to call it Flutter. No, I don't need Flutter. Everything can be Flutter then. Counter Riverpod demo. Okay, I'm a big fan of Riverpod, as you'll probably see in almost all my upcoming videos. And that's not to say there aren't people out there doing some wonderful videos for that stuff yet. Okay, let's see here. We're busy running Flutter Create with all the right things. That's always good. Blah, 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 blah. Let's find main.dart. Oh, I didn't have to find it. That was the first thing it brought up. That's nice. Okay. We are ready. We can X out of this. And then, as I demonstrated in the previous video, here's what I do with this. rpod return. And I get a bunch of stuff that's going to define my app. And we're going to call this counter app. Okay, and option tab to get to the next place, my home page, counter home page. And notice that it correctly updates all three of those things. And option tab again. I don't know why I need an option tab instead of a tab, but there it is. We're just going to leave this for a moment. I wanted to demonstrate that this actually does launch a, oops, oh, there, back, sorry. I wanted to demonstrate that this does actually launch, but except it won't launch. Look at all that red. Look at all that red. We got to fix that first. Remember how I did that last time? I got to add hooks Riverpod to PubSpec YAML, but I'm going to do it the lazy way. I'm going to say app PubSpec assist. There we go. And looking straight at the screen again, hooks Riverpod. And as you may recall from the previous video, I pull in everything I need to in terms of imports and also in the PubSpec for all the different flavors of Riverpod. So this is my happiness right there. Okay, now it looks like everything's gone away. Let's just see if this actually works. So that we have everything commented out that I think is optional most of the time. So let's go ahead and do this. But notice we've deleted all of the original counter app. The counter app is gone. It's history. It's probably in the probably in some sort of undo buffer, but I don't care. So we're going to select the iPhone 12 Pro Max iOS simulator. I say if you're going to have an iOS simulator, it might as well be the latest one, running 14.3, I think is what I can see up here. Probably in letters that are too tiny for you to see. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and F5, and that should be launching it. Yep, look at that, down at the bottom of the screen. And exciting, right? How many times have y'all watched that little launch and go, oh my god, this could take forever? But it doesn't. It's actually fairly fast. I think for people that are always curious about these things, I think I'm just using the Visual Studio Code dark theme. I'm not using those special fancy themes because I found occasionally it would confuse me about what's a comment and what's everything else. So there they are. Okay, we are plugging away at high speed. what we're going to do today is we're going to add the items that make the counter app, essentially. Now, I'm going to go ahead and open DevTools in web browser. So that's going to come up and completely overwhelm the screen. In fact, there's all my apps, all my widgets here. See, provider scope's already in there. Material apps already in there. Ooh, lots of things in that. Safe area is already in there. Counter homepage is the thing I added. Okay, and counter app is the top level. See, here we go. I can probably make that embiggen for people watching at home. So we'll just make that for now. But I don't really want that. I want to go back here. I want to make my my actual app. Now my app is going to consist of 3 widgets. It's going to be the label widget. It's going to be the actual number. And it's going to be the update the numbers. So that's what I'm doing for that. Let's also add one more thing here. On the build method for counter app, let's add a debug print of counter app build. So that will print there when that updates. In fact, you should be able to see it right now. Because on a hot reload, yes, we had to reload and repaint the whole thing from the top. And counter homepage, I'll do the same thing there. Can I copy? Is it faster? No, I'll just do it. Print counter homepage dot build. And now you should see both of these when I hot reload. Yeah, see down here in the screen down here, see it shows counter app build, counter homepage build. Why those are important is that I want to show you when I add a few more widgets how much of it rebuilds and how much of it doesn't rebuild based on my use of provider. So we're starting with this. Let's go down here and create a widget for the label that comes first. So just basically label it says your count is. Okay, so again, I'm making a Riverpod hook widget, and we're going to call this counter. Everything's going to be counter something because I'm crazy that way. Counter label, if I can spell it right. Okay, oops, didn't mean to do that. There we go. And it's option tab. There we go. Now, that's not very exciting, and it's not referenced in the main page. So let's do something first here. Let's just simply return a text so that I'll be able to see it when it's done. This is from counter label. Oh, let's just say the count is, because that's eventually what it's going to be anyway. Okay, colon, dun, dun, dun. Okay, so now it's returning a text instead. Oh, and let's also add the print so that my debug trace shows how often this counter app or this counter label actually gets built. So counter label dot build. Okay, so let's do a hot reload, and you should see now, of course, just the counter app and counter homepage, because the other one's not being referenced yet. We got to go back up here to the body of the statement. Now, I'm going to do a few things here. I'm going to make this a column. And we're going to create children. Good. And that's all nice and dandy, right? Okay. And in the children, I'm going to put, as a reference, my counter label. No, not add. What am I doing? Counter label. And we'll put a comma at the end, just so all the indentations stay happy. Okay, now guess what we're going to see? We should see the text. So we do a hot reload, and there it is, way up there in the upper left corner. Okay. Let's do a couple things for that. So let's add to the column, we're going to add main axis alignment is axis alignment alignment is, oh, you have to say main axis alignment. Main axis alignment dot center. Okay, and also cross axis alignment right there is cross axis alignment dot center. What does that do? Does that get my text into the right place? Hot reload. Oh, look. Why did it come out further to the center before? You know what? I think instead of these two things, all I need to do is put a center here. Wrap. Oh, over here, this guy. Wrap this puppy with a center. There we go. And the child is the column. Now let's see what happens when I save it. Yeah, that's what I was looking for. Now, do I need these two? Let's see. We comment them out. Save. Nope, it puts it all the way to the top. Okay. Well, then we'll undo that. Save. We want it down there. We want it in the middle. Okay. Count is not exciting, but as you've been watching down here, we've got counter app build, counter homepage build, counter label build. There's so far nothing very exciting because we're only getting changes in state from having been hot reloads. We want to start doing some actual things. So the next thing we need is we need to have our provider, our counter. So we're going to put right here final, and I would often move this to another file, but I'm trying to save this here. So we want a counter provider, and that is going to be a state provider. Is that it? Oh, forgot what I was going to put there. So we're going to tell the video to not watch for a second. Oh, no, I can do it. It's not state provider, is it? State notifier, state provider. Oh, yeah, it is state provider. And we're going to need a create, which would be that little ref thing that you see all the time. And we're going to need the return value. Bing. Okay, yeah, that was the right thing. Okay, now counter provider is not used anywhere, which is why it's putting the little blue tiggles. Now, state provider creates automatically for us a state member variable, and it initializes it to the return value of this express or this block of code. Although this block is a very simple block, it simply returns 0. So this means this is also an int state provider. See up there, state provider int, state provider int. Okay, good. And the counter provider, we're going to watch in a second. We're going to actually connect up. So the next thing I want to do is put the count somewhere. So let's pop down here, and we'll do a another Riverpod hook widget. Got it. And we're going to call this the counter display. Okay, that's pretty exciting, right? Option tab, get me into there. And what we're going to want here is a couple of things. Well, a few things actually. So first we want to print when does this build. Counter display dot build. And if we save it now, hot reload. Again, it's just the app, the homepage, and the label. We're not actually referencing this counter display yet. So let's pop up here and add the counter display. There we go, and a comma, oops, comma, save. And it's just popping a container up, but it is building it now. See that? It's actually building it. All right, we're still not exciting too much yet, but we want this to be a text. And here's where we want the count. So let's just put a question mark there for a second. Okay, so let's see if that comes out. Oh yes, look at that. So we're getting pretty close. This is sort of what it likes to look like. But what we really want is this value up here, the current value of the state. And we do that with this particular layout, this particular structure, by coming down in my build method and saying final counter is use provider counter provider. Now this does a couple of things. First off, it extracts out the interesting parts of the counter provider. So it's basically pulling the state back. Okay, to use provider listenable. So it's actually giving me back a provider listenable or something of the T. No, this is of the int, right? And so this is automatically an int counter. That's nice. So that we already have our int number there. And so if I put counter in here, right, that should be printing a counter. Oh, let's see if this says 0. No, it's an instance of state controller. Oh, because you know what? This counter actually is not an int. It's an int. It's a state controller int. And let's see what we can invoke on that. Counter dot. Oh, looky there. Has listeners, mounted, on error, all sorts of things. Stream. We can just stream the values. But the one I'm interested in is state. That is essentially an int right there. Okay. Let me see if it is. Yeah, I can call things like abs and stuff on it. Okay, but we actually want this. So that's getting the state member variable of my counter provider and giving it to me as a value. So now we get to do the fancy schmancy invoke any expression you want in the middle of this routine. And look at that. Now let's save hotly load. There's my 0. Ha ha ha. And just to show they're connected, by the way, yeah, we do a full build still because nothing is changing other than my hot reload. So let's put a 3 there. And the count should now be 3. Except it wasn't. Why is it? Oh, because it already had it still working. So, oh wait, is counter provider being used? Yes, should be. Name constant identity. Oh, that should be a lowercase c. So we're going to go to rename symbol, and we're going to do the right thing. Get rid of that blue. I hate the blue. There we go. And it also renamed it down here. See, look at that. Okay. Oh, now it's 3. Oh, I guess it's because it had to really reload. If I just do, say, 1 here now again, and I really reload, except it really didn't. Oh, it's probably because it blew up. So let's do a full reload, hot restart. There, now it's 1. And that's for reasons that I'd rather not go into right now, but I do realize what's going on. It cannot be a hot reload for this. It has to be a hot restart when I'm changing that 0. Okay, so look, we rebuilt the counter app, the counter homepage, the counter label, the counter display. That's exciting. Okay, so what we currently have is we have a state provider. Let's do one more thing before we get too far into this. Let's fix this by adding auto dispose right there. And what that's going to do is if there's any, I must have swallowed something. How about a full restart? That going to do it? Ah, yes, there we go. Yes, the hot reload was unable to do that major change. Auto dispose is nice. It means that if this thing were more complicated than what it is, like let's take this and bring it out to, how do you do that? How do you refactor that? Source action. No, that's not going to work. I don't know how to do that. But it's really just this. dun, dun. Expected defined. Why is it? Oh, because it's not arrow anymore. Da. Okay. So that's exactly the same subroutine for that. But now down in here you can do things like, well, we have ref, so we can do ref.read or ref.watch and all the wonderful things that come along with having access to the rest of the Riverpod stuff. So that means this could actually be what the provider people would say is the, Remy, of course, still, would be a multi-provider. So it could be depend on other things than just the digit 0 there. It could be time of day, it'll be all sorts of things. So I'm going to go ahead and save again, and there's my count of 0. I wonder why it isn't like giving me a, no, add type annotation? I don't think so. Okay, so I'll just leave it that way. It's perfectly fine that way. Okay, so what we now have is auto-dispose. So if there was anything in here that required disposing, this would then cascade down to it when this also gets need to be disposed. All right, wow, that's exciting. That's a lot of stuff to take in. But we're not quite there yet. We don't have the magic button, okay? We got to make the magic button to increment the counter. So let's do that. So we're going to come down here and we're going to do a Riverpod hook widget, right? And we're going to create a counter increment. If I can spell right. Okay, and get down to the end of this. Well, we don't want to return a container. Well, we'll do that for now. Yeah, let's return a container, but at least add it to our growing list of things that we're providing here. So we're going to put counter increment. Increment, right? And comma. Okay, and let's also go down into here, because we're doing this all the way around. We're going to also say print the build. Counter increment dot build, just to let me know that's what happened. Okay, hot reload, and I think I put the counter in. Yes, because it rebuilt counter increment, so therefore it's that. Let me pull this up just a little bit more so you can see all this at once. Okay, so far not terribly exciting. The next thing we want to do, though, is we want to wire up a raise button. Is that the one I use here? Raise button. We need on pressed, and there it is right away. Nothing exciting yet. Let's see what happens if it, no, because it doesn't define it yet. On pressed, we'll just do let's do this. I might need that. Oops. I think I'm off by one. Expression doesn't evaluate to what? What error am I getting there? How do I scroll right? I never know how to scroll right. The errors are got to be over here. 2 errors. Doesn't evaluate to a function. Oh, that's why. Ding ding. Unpressed. I can already tell you guys are already like sitting at home and yelling at me. Oh, yes, there we go. So that's the whole unpressed, does nothing. If I reload, nothing happens. Oh yeah, there's my little button. Okay. And then I gotta put on the raise button, I gotta put a label, I think it is. A text. What do I put on the raise button? Oh yes, text theme, widget child, key, function, unpressed, on long pressed. You know, again, I can hear you guys at home are screaming at me, saying, why haven't you just did this? Oh, it's a child. So we're going to take and put, is there a child of a text? Do I have to put all that? Let's try it. I know it'll work. Child, no, text. If I can type correctly, push me. There. Let's see if that saves. Child text. Is that right? Yeah. Widget child. No, I'm sure it's like a label. There's a color for a button. Autofocus. Okay, I'm probably skipping right past it. Text theme, text color, text disable color, color, focus color, hover color, color highlight, color splash, brightness, double elevation. Come on, one of these has to be ship, clip down, focus, autofocus. I don't see anything that says what a raised button has for a text. Well, that's just weird. Okay. Let's do this. Save. Reload complete. No, that's still not right. Huh. Okay, how do I mark the edit for here? Oh, it says push me. Oh. Okay. Oh, and that widget test problem is just a problem to ignore. That's what was just throwing me off here. Okay. We're just going to get rid of that for a second. Got the wrong app. All right. Back to the debug console. And back to a hot reload. Let's make this cat push me. Okay. Save. And again, watch down here. Watch what happens. We do the counter app build, homepage build, label build, display build, and increment build. So we haven't saved a dime yet. We're still doing almost nothing. But let's go one further step here. We want to press, on pressed, we want to increment the counter. So we're going to do, inside this callback, we're going to do another trick that is provided by the fact that we're importing a hook widget. We're extending a hook widget. So watch this. So that means that we have attached to our context, we have context.read. Ooh, see, that wasn't there before. That isn't there if it's not a hook widget. And we're going to read the counter state, counter provider. Now, the reason we're reading is because we're not actually changing the counter provider itself. We're only changing an element of it. State. Okay, so what I did there is, and what read really means here is that actions here, actions in counter provider, there we go, do not trigger counter increment to be rebuilt. But I can from here do a plus, and that will affect state. Now, that's going to make the new state to be a different object from the old state, because a plus is basically get the state, add one to it, shove it back in state, and it'll be a different object, an object that's not double equals equal. So that's why this works. Okay, now guess what? Now I'm going to come back here. We're going to save. We're going to hope it all works. Okay, it did. All the way down to here. And now watch push me. Boom. We changed the counter, but notice what's missing here. We didn't see counter app build. We didn't see counter homepage build. We didn't see counter label build or display build. Oh, display build we did see, but we didn't see increment build. This button retained its same properties. It didn't have to change. So the build mechanism says, I already have the push me button. Now, if we made it a different color every time I push the button, that would definitely be different. Okay, so again, let me rephrase here. You set up context read on a provider to basically say, I want the current value of this provider, whatever's being returned back from it. But I don't want to set up an association where if it changes, I also get retriggered. We don't want that. We just want to access the current value. And .state here is, again, the state that's in a state provider. And then plus plus is doing the deed. I could write this plus equals 1. It would work exactly the same way. But this is what's cool. Every time I press push me, the count is going to increment. And up here, by using use provider, we have wired this widget to change whenever counter provider updates, actually when it sends out a notify listener call, which is doing automatically. So there we go. There is the counter app. Done brilliantly by other people already. I'm basically stealing off everybody else's work, except I'm using my new framework to show how simple it is once you do that. You're really only setting up inside widgets two different things. Either a use provider and the name of a provider, and that wires up the I depend on you stuff for rebuilding that particular display, or you use context.read to say, I don't want to be marked as depending on you. I don't want to be rebuilt if you change. And we could actually demonstrate that it will rebuild it if we had a use provider in here. So we're just going to do use provider and whatever it is, the counter provider. Now the value is not being used, and we're going to get a complaint about that. But this very presence of use provider in here now puts it into a I'm watching you, the old watch from consumer widget. This is the same as a watch. And now that means when counter provider updates, we will get a counter, whereas a counter increment will also be created. And look down here. Okay, so here's all our reloads. But now watch what I say push me. Ah, see? Counter display built. We expected that. But counter increment built. It remade that button, which it really didn't need to. And to fix that, we'll go back. We'll comment this back out because we don't want it to work that way. Now, I might need to do a hot reload after this. Okay, or a hot restart. No, let's see. I think it's working so far. Look at that. Back to only counter display build. So there you have it. Using Riverpod, no stateful widgets. Effectively, you can always build a state for a stateless widget by throwing the proper things in various kinds of providers, and boy, are there a lot of them. But there is my example. I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope the recording all actually came out. Take care now, and I will be back with more cool things.